Hey guys, welcome back to Andrew Invest. Today I wanted to take a break from the banking crisis videos in order to give an in-depth analysis into a company which I purchased recently, Ulta Beauty. So this company is the largest beauty store within the US. It has amazing brand recognition, and it's also, to top it off, outperformed the S&P 500 for the last 10 to 15 years now. And yet it's not really discussed in investing circles. Why is that? Personally, I think it's because investing circles tend to be predominantly male, and I think we definitely have a tendency to focus on industries and sectors which are more male-oriented, like technology, for example. However, I think that's a huge mistake because over 80% of consumer spending is done by women, and not paying attention to what our wives and girlfriends are spending their money on may lead to underperformance when it comes to your portfolio against the S&P 500. So without further ado, let's get straight into the analysis of why I think this company is going to outperform. First things first, what's Ulta Beauty's target audience, and does it have a moat? Having a moat is a really important part of a business, and it basically just means, does a business have franchise power, and will its customers be likely to switch to other businesses? For example, Coke has a really large moat. People like Coke, they usually won't switch to Pepsi. So, what is Ulta's target audience? Primarily, it's obviously women, and in particular, it tries to target Gen Z women. Now, what is that segment of the population's opinion of Ulta itself? For that, we can refer to the Piper Sandler Taking Stock with Teens survey taken in fall 2022. Basically surveys all teenagers and asks them what are their favorite brands. So for beauty, we can see here that Ulta Beauty is top with a 42% margin, and Sephora is second with a 24%. As far as I can tell, Sephora is Ulta Beauty's main rival. It's owned by Louis Vuitton Group, so you can't actually buy it directly. If you want to get exposure to that, you have to get exposure to Louis Vuitton's other fashion brands, and for me, I just want to get exposure to the beauty sector. So Ulta and Sephora are both retailers, and retailers traditionally don't have very large moats because consumers can easily switch to other retailers who sell the exact same products. And yet Ulta and Sephora retain a very high percentage of the market. How is this possible? So they both run very extensive loyalty programs which encourage women to buy more at that store, and in order to achieve higher rewards, basically. So Ulta basically has a scheme whereby if you spend above $500 per year on beauty products, you are effectively promoted to a platinum tier where you get more rewards and are encouraged to spend more money, basically. And it's the same with the diamond tier, where consumers spend over $1,200 per year. So with these rewards, you can actually buy products at the store, and it really incentivizes women to stay at that store for at least the entire year in order to get discounts and rewards on all of their products. So that's the effective moat of the business. Another really important metric to look at when you are investing in a company is return on capital employed. This is a profitability measure which basically says for every dollar that the company employs or borrows, what amount of profit will it make on that? So Ulta Beauty's return on capital employed for 2022 was 44%. That means for every dollar that this company borrows, it can effectively make 44 cents of profit. Now, the typical interest rate on a loan is maybe 5% for a AAA rated business, which means that if Ulta takes out a loan, it's making a huge profit margin on that 5%. The average ROCE for S&P 500 companies is about 15%. So we can see that Ulta has a much higher profitability margin than them, and it's been increasing significantly since 2006. Another really important financial metric to look at when buying a company is earnings per share. Earnings per share is effectively the same thing as an interest rate when you own a cash bank account. It measures the earnings that a business makes, so the profits, divided by the shares in that company. The main difference between earnings per share and cash interest is that earnings per share may not be fully returned to shareholders. It may be reinvested into the business in order to generate profits in the future, which is also to your benefit as well. So when I look at earnings per share, I want to see a rising earnings per share year on year with low cyclicality, no years where volatility causes it to dip significantly. And is this the case for Ulta Beauty? Obviously for 2021, we can see a massive dip here due to the COVID lockdowns. But if we look at a more typical recession like 2008, 2009, where consumer spending dipped significantly, we can only see about a 10% dip in earnings per share of Ulta Beauty, which quickly rebounded the next year by over 20-30%. So this stock actually has very high defensibility against recessions, which may be coming this year. And so I expect to see Ulta Beauty's earnings per share not even dip that much, even with an upcoming recession. It's also important when looking at a business to make sure that it doesn't have an overbearing amount of debt, which may cause the business to go bankrupt at some point, especially with the rising interest rates that we're seeing right now. So how much debt does Ulta Beauty have? Funnily enough, it actually has zero debt. The only debt that it effectively has is called capital lease. These are effectively the liabilities extending from rental contracts that the business has to lease out the stores where it does its business. So in reality, I wouldn't call this debt, although it is a form of contract on the business to give money in the future. But the business is remarkably low debt, and even with the capital lease being about 1.9 billion, the company actually has $730 million in cash already, which is nearly 50% of that capital lease contract. So the business is remarkably not over leveraged, and this metric does very well. The last question to ask when investing in a business is, does the business return capital to its shareholders? Basically, this can take the form of either paying a dividend or doing share buybacks. Share buybacks are obviously the devil in Washington at the moment, but they are an effective way of getting a business to give cash back to the shareholders who own it. Now, Ulta Beauty doesn't actually pay a dividend, which isn't exactly looked upon favorably by many, but in reality, it doesn't really matter because you are effectively getting the exact same amount of cash back by the business buying its shares back and causing the value of the share to increase. So what kind of share buyback does Ulta Beauty do? Over the last 10 years, it's returned 2% per year to the shareholder. That can be effectively read as a 2% dividend. But in the last few years, it's actually ramped up those share buybacks. In the last 5 years, it's 3.5%. And in the last 2 years, it's 4.5%. So that's a very hefty dividend, especially when you look at other companies who are only doing, 1% dividend and no share buybacks. So the share buyback on Ulta is outstanding. And it's another really important factor behind why I decided to buy into Ulta. So overall, I think this business hits pretty well on all of the metrics that I look at when I'm buying a business. And I actually am very excited for the future of this business, and I'm going to buy more shares within the coming few months. I'll let you guys know when I buy more Ulta stock and give portfolio updates regularly for the next few months. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and you stick around. If you did like the video, please give it a like, and I'll see you guys next time.